Hey, welcome back! This is the second part in the character sculpt tutorial series where I go through my entire workflow from start to finish. If you missed the previous part where we set up our references and block the character out, there is a link in the description if you want to get caught up. Since we spent a lot of time on our blockout, it should make sculpting the body easier. Let's go ahead and join all of the body parts together so we can make it all one mesh where it's all completely together and we can sculpt on it. We've got this big old piece that's got the legs and the arms and the butt cheeks, and we need to start applying all of the modifiers that's on each one of these individual things. You can click the arrow down button and hit apply to apply the modifiers. You usually want to apply them from the top down, but you can also click on the object, and while your mouse is hovering over one of these boxes, you can hold Control and press A, which would be the shortcut for apply. So on the torso, Control A is apply. You can see on all of these, we can apply the subdivision in the mirror on the hands, subdiv on the face, and on the ears, and the mirror on the ears. Okay, so let's join the legs, and the pelvis, and the torso, and the boobs, and the neck. I'm holding down shift while clicking these. Hit Control J to join them. Now they're all in one object. You can press slash to see that they're all one object, or if I turn on random for the objects, you can see that they're all the same color. Now we're not going to join the hands or the head yet. Did I join the ears? Okay, the ears just happen to have the same color. They are a different object. But yeah, we're going to leave the head. Let's join the two head pieces together though. Control J to join those. We're going to leave the ears, the head, and the hands separate right now. Everything else is joined together. Let's grab the torso. So when we're into edit mode, we can see we've got all of these meshes are together, but they're not manifold. See, if I press L on it, it will select everything that's linked here, and see they're just overlapping. And what we want is them to all join together into being one mesh. And there's a few ways you can do this. There is an operation called booleans, but you don't want to join them together. In order to do that, you would actually select one object, add a boolean, and then select another object to join to it. It gives you pretty bad topology. You can do it that way and then remesh over it, but you're going to end up remeshing. But there's different ways to remesh. You can click on the object, you can go and add a remesh modifier, which doesn't look too great, but if you start bringing this number down, it starts adding more and more resolution. Now, right now this is just a modifier, so if I click the real-time on and off, you'll see that it's not permanent yet until we apply this. But what you can see is happening is it's joining these together. It's joining these together in these voxel style polygons, and that's what we want. We want these to merge together into one object. So you can do it that way, or you can go into sculpt mode and hold down shift and R, and it brings up this grid, and as you move your mouse you can see the size of the polygons. So if we were going to remesh it down, say down to 160, we would left click to accept, and then we'd hit Control R to remesh, and you can see that it remeshed it. This is a really low resolution, why it looks so pixelated. If you don't want all these different masks on here, which was from them being different objects, you can go up here to the remesh menu and you can uncheck these. So now when you remesh, it's all the same color. But you can see what it does. It joins it all together, and you can smooth it out where all of these different pieces attach to each other. So there's that way, and which was the Shift R to choose, and then the Control R to actually remesh. Or you can go up here to the remesh menu and you can manually put in your voxel size, and then hit remesh right here. If you'd like to get a sample of what the voxel size is on the mesh right now, you can click this eyedropper tool and then hover over a piece of the geometry. And then when you open it back up, you can see that it would be 0.1548 meters, which is the actual voxel resolution on this one. So let's choose a. There's not much I'm going to fix on this, so I'm going to go ahead and go a little high and remesh it. And we can turn on X symmetry. You can see the little dot on the left side That's like a copy of the brush that I'm using. So if I pull over here, it's going to pull over there. Now in sculpt mode, there's not many brushes that I use. I use this grab brush. I shouldn't have done it there. I use this this draw sharp brush, which digs in. I use the clay strips brush, which is good for adding volume. I like to use the pinch brush, which is good for pinching together creases. And then also there's the crease brush that I use sometimes, which is kind of draw sharp mixed with the pinch brush at the same time. And there's also, if you scroll on down here, there's the mask brush, which is pretty useful. You can mask out a section, like say you're wanting to work around that and you don't want to affect this, so now I can move things around and it's not going to affect where I masked. You can also invert that mask and then only work inside of that spot that we masked out. But for now, oh, and then there's the smooth brush. It is, I don't even know where it is. Oh, it's right here. But the smooth brush is actually a part of every brush. If you hold down shift with any of the brushes, it becomes the smooth brush. And that's what we're going to be doing, is smoothing out. We're going to be smoothing out these connection points where these meshes were. You've got a strength slider up here and a radius slider. I usually keep my strength on pressure sensitivity. I'm using a pen tablet, but I usually keep my strength on pressure sensitivity so I can be lighter or not. And the radius I usually keep normal. Normally this size. I think it's F. Yeah, you can press F and then move left and right to change your radius. But I'm used to using Photoshop, so I just use the bracket keys. You press it up and press left and right bracket, and it makes it go up and down just like in Photoshop. Anyways, let's start smoothing this thing up. Hold down shift, and I'm actually going to get a smaller brush size. Bring it down a little bit. And I like to start by getting all the connection points first. Around the boobs. Right there. Under the butt. Don't look. Around the knees. And around the ankles. So that should be our main connection points, which I know you can kind of still see the divots and stuff, but I like to give those a good smoothing first before we start trying to go for some detail or whatever. But first we're going to get rid of all these little squares that comes from remeshing such a low poly mesh into such a high poly voxel. So we'll get rid of some of these little squares, and since we've got the X mirroring happening, that means we only have to do half the work. It's really not necessary to get rid of all these. It's just I don't really like the look of them, you know. Okay. Since we're already on the back here, then I guess I'm going to start on the back. I like to take a draw sharp and then go straight down the spine. And one thing I usually like to do is to exaggerate a lot, and then I'll run the smooth brush over it to bring it back to where it needs to be. So we'll put that cut down the back, and then we've got shoulder blades back here too, so I'll actually put a cut around and just, I don't know, we'll just imagine where the shoulder blades are. I'm not very good at anatomy. I just, we'll put some shoulder blades back there, and actually let's dig out a little bit more. Let's put some back over here. And with clay strips, like I said, it adds volume, and if you hold down control, it takes volume away. If you press control with any brush, it gives you the opposite effect of when you're not pressing control. So I'm just kind of digging away at the side here. And then down here on the butt cheeks, we'll take draw sharp, and we'll kind of carve those back in. And then maybe get a little bit of the pinch brush, kind of pinch it together. And then we'll smooth around the edge of that. Just get a little bit of clay strips, and we'll go right over the top of her butt. Maybe add a little bit of fat in there, like that. And then kind of outline her butt a little bit more. Where's the crease brush at? Use the crease to kind of draw in and pinch at the same time, and then we'll just finish it off with a pinch. And then to make those really pinch together, we can grab the inflate brush and run that over, right over that line. And then we will blur the very edge of it like that. And on the front part of the crotch, we'll kind of do the same thing, but just not as much. We'll define this piece here, and we'll kind of pinch it together, and then smooth it out just a little bit. This could actually, I'd like to have a little bit more out of there. Something like that. Okay. Now for up here, this is kind of rounded out, so we can grab our scrape brush, and what this does is it kind of references whatever you're touching, and it kind of flattens and scrapes it out. So if we go right here and start scraping on the chest, it will flatten it out. If you look from the side here, it started to flatten it out, and I got down in the boobs a little bit, so I'll undo that. Just trying to make a little spot there. That way I can grab clay strips, and we'll take it down a whole bunch, and we'll start right here and kind of just swing out. Like I said, I don't know much about anatomy, but I know there's a clavicle there somewhere. And we'll can kind of dig in up here. We'll pull it down, and we'll add that little bit of muscle in the front, and then we'll try to smooth it out a little bit. And on the underneath, I'll use draw sharp to kind of define a little bit more. And I think that's good enough. Maybe dig this down. Yeah. For her stomach, let's kind of draw a line down the middle, and then I guess we'll just put a hole right there, one of them belly button holes. We'll use draw sharp to draw it in, and then a little bit of draw sharp on top with control held to kind of poof out the top of it. We'll use the grab brush to kind of pinch it in, and then we can start smoothing it out a little bit. And use a little bit more smooth on the bottom. That'll work. I mean, if you want to, you can grab your clay strips or whatever, and you can kind of come around here if you want to make a rib cage. I usually don't worry about it. Well, just because I usually don't worry about it. And then maybe you can hold control right here, dig in a little bit. But, I mean, she gets a little skinny looking if you do stuff like that. Just fill this out a little bit. And the armpits, I like to take the clay strips and dig in real harsh like. And then come over here and then kind of build it up over here. Kind of make the armpits kind of webby. And then come in and start smoothing it back out. Kind of smooth it back up into the arm. Build this out a little bit. And I didn't really put much geometry up here for the shoulders, so we can use clay strips and kind of build her shoulder up a little bit. Like I said, I like to really exaggerate it and then smooth it back out. But really, if we did a pretty good job at blocking out, we don't really need to add all of these shoulders and all these details and stuff. It's just, usually when I get to this point, I do it anyways, because I really like the sculpting part of it. Let's get the scrape brush here, and let's kind of flatten this out. And then we'll get clay strips again, and we'll come off of this muscle, kind of like into that elbow there. And then on the back, we tried to put an elbow in, but it kind of didn't work out. Right here it was. We can drop that clay strips down. We'll put us a big ball right here for the elbow, and then we'll kind of draw a line out coming both ways, and then we'll smooth it up. And if we want to get draw sharp, and we'll kind of add some creases around it. And our wrist, we can't really do much here because we haven't done our hand, so we're going to leave that. Moving on down, we've got a bunch of stripes on the leg. Let's get rid of those. Got a couple back there. Okay. Use our grab brush. When you remesh, it kind of shrinks the mesh a little bit. So you might end up going around and tweaking things just a little bit, and the grab brush is really good for that. Like get a really big size, and you can pretty well move a whole lot of the mesh around. Down here at the feet, we can finally line these up with our reference. Alright, down here on the knees. The cool thing about the way we did the knees is since it overlapped, it kind of went ahead and made kneecaps for us. So they're pretty close already. We can take draw sharp, and we can outline the knees just a little bit more. And then while holding control, we can go in just a little bit and trace around about where the knee would be. We'll go with clay strips and build this up a little bit more. And then we can smooth it out. And then with the very edge of the brush, we can smooth around the knees here. And I mean, if you want to, you can take draw sharp and you can go over the top here and then smooth the outside top part of it. Kind of blend it in this way if you want your kneecaps to be that way. I'm fine with my top of my legs just running down into a kneecap. On the back here, okay, on the back we can grab clay strips, make the brush a little bit bigger, and we'll kind of dig into the back of the kneecap on the back side of the leg, and we'll smooth it out and then make it a little bit smaller, and then without holding control we just place it right back out in the middle. Let's smooth it back up, and that kind of makes that tendon that's back there. If you want to, you can grab draw sharp and kind of outline the sides of it like that. And for the feet, I'm not really worried about the feet. They look fine. I mean, if you want to, you can add the little ball that's here on the side, wherever it is. I don't even know where it is. Is it on the inside or the outside? Oh, there's one on both sides. I just felt my foot. Okay, this one's way up here. So there's that. Lastly, I think get a side view here, and where's the grab? You can shape the boobs just a little bit more, flatten the top out. You can puff out up here and just kind of tug everything out into place. But yeah, we want to make sure this top part is flatter. And last thing, let's orbit around, kind of oblong looking here. We need to either pull this side in, pull that side out, and then flatten a little bit. Okay, let's grab the crease. Let's just put a crease in. Take this crease all the way into the armpit. Let's actually switch to draw sharp and pull it around. And let's finish off with a little bit of pinch. Grab a big draw sharp here and kind of make an arc. Then smooth it out. And let's kind of go around here and smooth this out. There we go. And then we'll grab our grab brush and kind of pull it back out there. So with all this smoothing going on here, we've got a little bit off of our reference. Just a little bit. Let's orbit around and look at it one last time. Belly button's a little wide, isn't it? Let's pinch it a little bit. Yeah, that's good enough. There she is. Now let's let's take a look at the hand. I applied that mirror modifier. Let's go to edit mode, and we'll select the left hand and hit L, which selects everything linked over there. You can do that on all these pieces, or we can go into X-ray mode and just select them all. We're going to delete them because we're only going to be working on one side. So let's zoom in over here, and instead of going into sculpt mode and choosing our voxel size and then remeshing, we're going to use the remesh modifier. And the reason why is things that are really close together usually kind of melt together when you're remeshing them. And for things like fingers, you have to go really low. You can see right here between the webbing of the fingers right there, they like to stick together unless you go really low in your voxel size. So it looks like we can get away with this one here, which is, looks like it's pretty high resolution. So we'll go over here, hit apply, and then into sculpt mode. We can start smoothing things out. Now we can either go ahead and hit shift and start smoothing this way, or we can grab the clay strips and kind of bridge over these. That way when we smooth them, there's not going to be a whole big of a change. Now down here, this is fine. We can just go ahead and regular smooth this. Smooth these connection points. Got all these knuckles up here, and then down the side. So this is pretty good.
All right.
That's my phone. So on the hand up here, we can go into the top view. Looks like she's got purple gloves. She's got Joker gloves on. So let's put some knuckles in. We can go and, using clay strips, we'll just swipe back and forth to make a few knuckles, and then we can, if you want to, like for the stylized character, we don't need to, but you can pull tendons down like that. But you've got tendons that go into the front of your fingers too, like this. That's up to you if you want to do that. I like to use control and kind of dig this part out. Because from the top of your hand to the bottom of your hand, there's kind of a sloped plane. It kind of gives you webs. So we've got those. Let's smooth them back out since we exaggerated them so much. And the thumb looks pretty okay. Let's see, the bottom of the hand here. So it looks like this right here is fine. We can add a little bit more of this fleshy part right here. And then this kind of comes, it's kind of boxier than I thought. So we can pull this out a little bit more. The thumb knuckle over here comes out more. Maybe a bit more like that. We can define that. I'm looking at my hand and see the creases. I've got one running over like this, and I got another one running like that. And then we've kind of got, right through here there's kind of a pad. But that's already built up pretty good. So we actually need to bring it back down below it. So up through here, this could actually use bringing back down. We'll dig in a little bit in here. Build this up on the palm. Something like that. This actually runs downhill right there. And this kind of curves over. Alright, so really for a stylized hand, that's just about all I want to do. We can also put in some creases here. This might help us later with retopology. So let's scale our brush down, and we'll just make a swipe around here like this. Something like that. And then for a thumb, we've got one about right there. Of course we've got one right there, and then one right there. Yeah, there we go. Now that that's done, we can go back to object mode and add a mirror modifier and apply it. We can join this to this. But we won't remesh it. We're not going to worry about remeshing the hands to the body because we don't need to worry about smoothing that out. We'll smooth that out when we do the retopology. So that pretty well wraps it up for the body. Remember to save. Remember to save because that's awful if you had a crash and forgot to save. Hey, thanks for watching and hanging out with me. Join me next time. In the next video, we're going to be working on the head part of the sculpt, which should have us pretty well buttoned up and ready for retopology. So I'll see you guys next time.
All right.
That was my phone.